What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of May 31st through June 5th of 2022. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. Appreciate you all. Hope you had a good holiday weekend. And yeah, I hope everybody's doing well out there. Well, getting to that midpoint of Gemini season this week. Lots kind of building up. We're seeing, of course, Mercury getting ready to station direct this week, coming into the weekend. And we're seeing Saturn this weekend as well, station retrograde. So that's kind of the big topic, in my opinion, this week is dealing with these two energies switching direction, one after another. Of course, Mercury dealing with our mind, our environments, things close to us, communication, and Saturn dealing with, our mission, our work, a lot of the things that we're trying to pursue and go after in life, and, the physicality of life, structure in our life. We're at a time where we've kind of seen all we need to see internally to move forward with value and to move forward into a future and with connection and to pursue and stay dedicated. But it is kind of this week of like feeling kind of stopped in time for a second, where we're almost at this point where when Saturn goes retrograde, we always want to like tack more things on, and Saturn goes retrograde, and it's not about tacking more things on. It's about taking what you have right now, and especially when it comes to knowledge in Aquarius and the things that you've learned and figured out and experimented with, now it's time to really like hone in and practice those things and pursue those things. And instead of going after new things that haven't shown up yet, it's like what's really on your plate and maybe like getting those things in order. Especially with Mercury retrograde, we've had to go re-understand a lot of aspects in our environment, we reevaluate our values. And even it started in Gemini. So just getting our mind like trying to consolidate so many different thoughts, so many different perspectives, so many different ways that things can go right now, because they can go so many different ways, trying to pick the best, most valuable ways and kind of commit to these things. And it can feel like there's blocks. It can feel like some things are just like not going as fast as you want them to. And that's where, you kind of got to pick up the pace and like really identify with the story that you're trying to go after that has presented itself, that does feel like it's yours. It's really like looking at everything that's taking place in the outer and making sure that, you're looking at your world to see what you're processing inwardly that's, corresponding to the outer world and why things are showing up in your life the way they are. And it's definitely not like pointing the blame, because this Mercury stationing on Algol is pretty intense. And I'm going to show you some Algol stuff that maybe you've researched or maybe not, but just to kind of give you an idea of like how even though Algol's in Taurus, there's a big Gemini quality to it. And since the sun is in Gemini and we just had a new moon in Gemini, I want to like point that out, is that there's two sides to every story. There's always, debate in life. So we're at this point of like having to debate what's better without feeling blocked from what's better, being able to amplify our will with Jupiter and Mars in Aries. And even with, Chiron there and the sun getting ready to sextile Chiron and Mars is approaching that Chiron, there's like a little bit of like, like, oh, do I go after these things, or kind of like feeling like we need to get pushed or prodded along, or not feeling like we have the will to move forward. But definitely realizing that every time we do dig deep and grab that will, and we do, assert ourselves into a life and into the roles and into the knowledge and into the environments and the things that we really want, we're doing ourselves a big favor. We're really helping ourselves out. Even if it does feel like, we have to keep going with the things we've already got instead of worrying about tacking new things on. And of course, Mercury's in sextile to Neptune during this transit too. So, with Neptune and Saturn in their semi-sextile, which is 30 degrees, we do get, of course, the square to Saturn and the sextile, the 60-degree angle. It's hard to breathe in here right now. It's like stuffy. Maybe it's the sunlight on my face. I don't know. Maybe it's Mercury square Saturn. Maybe she's born with it. I'm not. But because of that, we get the square and, of course, the sextile. So there is this, I think a lot of signs are pointing to compassion for self, compassion to others, and for value, and being able to like look at things sensitively enough in your environment to dissolve what isn't working out, what isn't, needing to be changed, what isn't kind of in a flow with the universe, with, it's your spiritual mission here, so that you can really, see what's there and what you can really pursue and really dive into and connect to. And, blocks are a part of life. I think this is an important week where it's like we really got to dig deep and like look at our story and realize that there's two sides to it, and make sure that we're choosing, the most beneficial story, and not going into dark routes, because remember, Algol is the demon star. It's one of the most feared stars in the fixed star system. So it has that naturally over all the years that people and astrologers and even astronomers have been studying the stars. Like, Algol is a dark presence. It just is that way. So where's the darkness in our lives, and where are we also like being able to shine a light on that? And some things maybe do have to get turned to stone. This is Medusa too. So when Medusa looked at somebody, of course, turned to stone. But that's an interesting story that, maybe I'll share with you guys right now, because it's, I think, it's worth looking at. Of course, I gotta shift these screens around a little bit because I didn't set it up right. Word. Put myself in there, why not? So this is from Dark Star. Or no, it's actually Astrology King. I like his stuff. I always seem to end up on his page whenever I look at the fixed stars. But this is, of course, for Algol. This is what he wrote. Algol is one of the most unfortunate stars. Ptolemy referred to it as the Gorgon of Perseus. So Perseus, of course, slayed Medusa, and Medusa was put into this sort of role by Pallas Athena, which one side of the story, which I think I closed that window for some reason. I did, huh? I don't know why I closed that one. That was a good story. Maybe I can pick it up again. That's a good one. Where is it? Oh, this is it. Good. I'll go back to that in a second, and I'll go over that story. But let's see what this has to say in astrology terms. And associated it with death by decapitations, mirroring the myth of the hero Perseus' victory over the snake-headed Gorgon Medusa. Historically, it has received a strong association with violence across a wide variety of cultures. Medieval Arabic commanders tried to ensure that no important battle began whilst the light of Algol was weak. So when it was weak, it was really dark, which it goes from bright to dark every like 2.6 days. Not that that's super important, but it will be at its darkest right about the time Mercury starts to go retrograde, which I have another window up that I'll show you of that later. It may be connected to the periodic lucky prognosis in the ancient Egyptian calendar for lucky and unlucky days composed about 3,200 years ago. The 17th century English astrologer William Lilly regarded any planet to be afflicted, which means, getting negatively aspected when within a 5-degree conjunction. Astrologers, of course, said that it was the most unfortunate, violent, and dangerous star in the heavens, and it certainly has been one of the best observed, as the most noteworthy variable in the northern sky. Algol represents the head of the Gorgon Medusa, who was slain by Perseus. Medusa, who was the only mortal of 3 Gorgon sisters, was originally a beautiful maiden, but her hair was changed into hissing serpents by Minerva, which, the stories get a little twisted up, because the other one I have says Athena, but either way, these are old stories. In consequence of her having become by Neptune the mother of Chrysaor, and Pegasus is one of Minerva's temples. So depending apparently on who you ask, Poseidon either raped or seduced Medusa, who was beautiful hair. She was known for her hair. People loved her beautiful hair. And that's why Pallas, kind of out of spite, turned her hair into, or Minerva, whatever you want to go with, turned her hair to snakes, so that she had a fearful appearance, and that whoever looked at her, and then because Pallas in the other one didn't want people to ever love her again, if she looked at anybody, she couldn't let anybody close, because if she looked at them, they would instantly turn to stone, right? So it's the nature of Saturn and Jupiter: dignified, poised, conservative, acquisitive, retentive, causes misfortune, violence, decapitation, hanging, electrocution, and mob violence, and gives a dogged and violent nature that causes death to the native or others. It is the most evil star in the heavens. One of the 15 Bohemian fixed stars. Its image is a human head cut off at the neck, gives success to petitions, makes the wearer bold and magnanimous, preserves the body, protects against witchcraft, and turns evil spells back upon those who work with them. Rules diamond, black hellebore, and mugwort. So there's positive side to Algol too, being able to turn evil back upon the sender, and give that great protection. And success to petitions too. I like that. Whenever we are standing up for our values in life right now, and being able to not have a closed throat with Mercury square Saturn, and being able to express ourselves, we're able to manifest and get petitions to work, and stop things that we don't want to happen. But we can't do it if we don't petition against these things. So it's in life right now, you got to look at what's going on and what's trying to be forced upon you. And sure, there's a lot going on in the world. Those might be important petitions to look at too if they come up. But really, your own life right now, in your day-to-day life, how can you voice your opinion to really stand up for your value and for your sense of self? This is where you get the benefit right now. And Saturn's even saying hey, step up for this. So it's evil spirit or devil, derived from the same root as alcohol. The dark one has the property of pure Saturn character. The lighter one corresponds not only to Saturnian influence, but also Mars, Uranus, Pluto. Which is interesting because Pluto's, retrograde for the final time in Saturn's ruling sign of, it's stationed retrograde for the final time in Saturn's ruling sign of Capricorn. And of course, Mars is getting ready to square it, and Uranus is going to head up and trine that Pluto, coming up in the next few years. But just, Pluto-Saturn meeting in 2020, there's just a lot of these, a lot of this influence that's going on right now. But that's actually the positive side, because it gives action to inevitable change, to go further and to dig deeper. If the dark fellow is showing towards Earth's path, the destructive inevitable action is exercised. These will be the hours in which Algol is the least bright. In the old times, people were well aware of this. Dr. Lamore wrote in his Cosmobiology, August 1950, Arabic commanders-in-chief in times of conquest made it a point that no important battles were begun when the light of Algol was weak. It's just too risky. Which it'll be the weakest about the time Mercury goes retrograde. So I guess coming into this, the 2nd and 3rd and 4th of this, new month of June here, it's important that, maybe get your facts right, get your value right, get your things in order first before you start some battle in life. Pay attention to those, because you might be pushing or overextending yourself further than you actually need to, and it might leave you vulnerable. Instead of being able to repel the negative energy, it might actually just attract more of it. It also has the nature of Jupiter, but it also has a long tradition as a troublemaker. It is said to be one of the most unfortunate, violent, and dangerous stars in the heavens. This explained by the fact that Jupiter takes on all of its most perverse meanings, too much heat, as it were. Yeah, so Jupiter, used to rape a lot of women too. So, big Jupe, everybody gives him oh, he's the best. Well, Jupiter was, he's great, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't, no saint. Resulting in extremist actions that undo all the beneficial qualities of the planet. So it's almost because Mercury's so close, it's these little things, right? So it's these little things that we do that we can overdo, or that we can go to extremes on, that actually undo all the beneficial qualities, of maybe the understanding of yourself, what you do value. A lot of these things, they can go too far and be of detriment. So we have to that's the responsible manner of Saturn too, I think, this week, is you want to push yourself, but not just overextend, not just in an angry sort of, upset way. It's using that Neptune sextile to bring some compassion, so that there is this high spiritual, persistence of what the value is, and not just the taking advantage and the, no compassion. So yeah, that's some of that. But then I also have this, which I'll pull up. This is this person, it was on LinkedIn of all places, but the untold story of Medusa. So there's 2 stories from Greek mythology that are the most popular. But apparently, we all know the grisly end. The first story sees Medusa originally as a stunning young woman with beautiful ringlets of hair, so alluring in her beauty that she has many suitors. While praying at the temple of Athena, she catches the eye of the sea god Poseidon, which is Neptune, and ironically, Neptune is sitting over there in sextile looking over at this Mercury and Algol, who rapes her or seduces her, depending on who's telling the story in this temple. Athena, who was enraged at her temple being defiled, takes out her revenge on poor Medusa. It was noted that Athena, who was the goddess of war, rarely supports women. Perhaps she is the precursor to the jealous older women so often portrayed in European fairy tales that were to follow. To exact her revenge, Athena takes away Medusa's prized feature, her beautiful hair. Again, this is reminiscent of later fairy tales, specifically Rapunzel, who was punished for sleeping with a prince by having her hair removed. Athena makes Medusa unappealing to men by turning her hair into writhing snakes. It's a classic case of victim blaming. Victim blaming. That's a big thing that I've been talking about. And especially with Chiron in Aries, Mars, Jupiter in Aries, pointing the finger at other people and not looking at your story and your will and everything that has to do with you and taking that in. You actually want to be very self-prioritized and not blaming other people. And that's even Saturn in Aquarius, bringing up all these people, bringing up all this focus on society and this, that, this is a time to really hone in on the truth with the sun here in Gemini, especially in this mid-second decan. Like, it's getting much more, oh, this is my truth right now. This is my environment right now. And it's not like circumstantial to what others did or blaming or, playing a victim. I just want to say, like, that's important too in the astrology. So, it's interesting seeing that come up here. Where was that? Oh, victim blaming. If that isn't enough, Athena ensures Medusa will forever remain alone by gifting her with a gaze that turns others into stone in an instant. Here we witness the creation of the original death stare, a weapon that has since been paused onto generations by women. And while over time the death stare has become less potent and less deadly, it is by no means less scary. I know, because my mother possesses such a stare. Not only stops you in your tracks, but takes your breath away. My mom had that stare big time. Kind of funny. Medusa, however, did not wish to use her powers on mortals, and instead retreated to a dark cave. She could not look upon a friend or even an animal without killing them, and so she lived a life of solitude. However, this was not to last, even though Medusa was never wanted to harm anybody. So it's like, oh, so now we're also looking at, oh, Medusa was this, crazy demon Gorgon that just wanted to turn people to stone and was evil. Well, the original story, that's not even the case. So we're already looking at where there's that victim mentality or that projection onto things in life right now that, they're actually out and they're all this big problem. But, like, are you really looking at where you're creating problems in your life? I feel like this is so important to, like, look at the other side of the story, the other perspective in life. It's Gemini season. Like, this is definitely that sort of energy. Get objective with Saturn in Aquarius, square this Mercury, and look at the other side of everything before just jumping to conclusions, especially this week. The knowledge that she had the power to do so meant that she could never live a quiet life. Soon enough, men came in search of her, and eventually Perseus, the son of Zeus, finds her and cuts off her head while she sleeps. The alternate origin story sees Medusa begin life as a Gorgon monster, born of 2 sea monsters and one of 3 daughters. As a Gorgon monster, Medusa is terrible and fierce and is much less sympathetic than her alter ego, once human form. But what this version lacks in beauty, she makes up for in companionship. Because in this version, Medusa lives with her 2 sisters. These Gorgons are described as having snakes on their head, wings on their backs, large mouth with lolling tongues. Whether the sisters were immune to Medusa's death stare, perhaps possessing the same powers themselves, or they were protected by the darkness of the cave, we do not know. We do know her sisters, Stemno and Uriel, mourned her death. They gave chase to Perseus after he murdered Medusa, and he escaped their clutches only thanks to Athena's help. She definitely had a thing against Medusa. Upon Perseus' escape, the sisters release a loud, mournful howl, which is chilling to the bone. Once Medusa is decapitated, she is reduced to an object and used as a weapon. For even post-mortem, Medusa can turn mortals and monsters into stone. After Perseus evades Medusa's sisters, he happens upon the beautiful princess Andromeda, who is tied to a rock, awaiting sacrifice to the sea monster who is terrorizing her father's land. Perseus, who is still literally flying high on the winged sandals, swoops down to save Andromeda from impending doom. After instructing Andromeda to close her eyes, Perseus pulls Medusa's head out of a bag and facing it towards the sea monster, turning it to stone, which is ironic considering the monster is probably a relative of Medusa's parents. So, interesting stuff about Medusa and Algol. But I just think that I don't have a lot of like super crazy stuff to tell you this week, but I feel like this algal presence is probably one of the bigger things to look at with Mercury sitting here and with the square from Saturn, is that there's two sides to every story. And you want to be able to go deep and investigate what that is and make sure that you're not victim blaming yourself or others, lacking compassion. These are going to be big things to focus on this week, especially spiritually with the sextile to Neptune. And being able to take all that you've learned, because that's one of the funny things too about where we're at right now, is Mercury's getting ready to station direct, and we're like, oh, thank God Mercury's direct, which is great. It's been a pretty intense Mercury retrograde, but take all that we've gone back and understood and had to like relook over and rehash out, and realize that it is time to move forward. And Saturn's been trying to tell us we should have been moving forward this whole time. So where we haven't been paying attention and looking at the other side of our life, or where we've been victim blaming or pointing the finger at other things, these are going to be some of the hardest things to like get a grasp on. Because Saturn's like, you already have everything that you need. And now it's like summer school. So for some people, they don't have to go to summer school. They get a summer vacation. And that's one thing, Saturn retrograde can kind of feel like summer vacation. Especially, it's ironic we get Saturn retrogrades currently because of in the winter signs, we get those during summer. And it can definitely feel lighter when Saturn goes retrograde. But it's also, if you didn't put in the work, you have to go back and do a lot of things. So it can feel like where other people are playing and rejoicing, you're like, well, why am I not getting that? Well, were you moving forward? Were you going into your future? Were you really trying to connect to this higher timeline in your life? Were you taking the odd route? Were you doing things differently? Were you following what you were told? Because there's the two sides of Saturn and Aquarius even that were like, oh, yeah, follow society, do what you're told, or no, rebel. I'm doing it my way. I'm going to find a different way. That ain't going to be it. There's the individuated route, and then there's this like very socialistic route, very everybody conform. Aquarius is interesting. It's weird, right? Because there can be a rebel from the need to rebel to fit in, to be a part of the tribe, to be a part of society. So, and it's weird. Saturn in Aquarius is a weird one because it does rule it and it's strong there. And it's also been squaring Uranus, which we're about to see get tighter and tighter for the rest of this year. As Saturn's going to start retrograding back towards Uranus, and Uranus is going to make its way up to 18 degrees. They're going to be within a couple degrees of each other. So, physical form and what you think things are just going to be like, they're not going to be that way. Nothing's just going to go super according to plan. There's always going to be something that shows up. But the point is you have the understanding now to keep moving forward, to keep building on what you do have. And then when Saturn starts to go direct, end of the year, coming into the fall, it's going to be like, okay, like I can go deeper into these things. I can, start progressing forward into getting into the dreamland of Pisces, because that's where Saturn's going next to retrograde. We'll be in Pisces and finishing up in Aquarius. Also interesting that Mercury's sitting right at 25, or 26 is where it's going to station retrograde. But we did just have the lunar eclipse at 25 Scorpio with the sun at 25 Scorpio or 25 Taurus, and that was a big. I think we all felt that lunar eclipse in some way, shape, or form in our life, bringing up some intense truths. This is another point with Mercury sitting there, like bringing all this back to your environment, all this truth back to your values, and being able to make big decisions and not block yourself and to speak up, to really unleash the throat. And if that means deeper conversations, that means deeper conversations, but make sure that compassion's part of it, make sure that it's coming from like a spiritually pure place, and, harder conversations can be had, and I think that they can be very productive. But it's definitely, feeling like there's some blocks up this week that we have to deal with. And also where we're trying to move quick. It's Gemini season. We're like, hey, let's do something exciting. Let's find something fun to do. Let's jump over here. Let's go over there. There's definitely that. But the moon's also in Cancer, having us get really into our emotions, get really into our feelings, back into our personal lives, which I think is a big help this week. And then does finish off the week in Leo. So the moon's in some signs it definitely doesn't mind being in, especially Cancer, but it does have to square over to Mars, square over to Jupiter, oppose Pluto, quincunx Saturn. It'll make some nice sextiles, of course, to Taurus and Uranus and the North Node and Venus is in Taurus, of course, still. So, and Venus is powerful right now. Venus is the strongest planet in the chart, so really when you're leaning on your value, especially with Mercury stationing in Taurus on Algol, when you're really leaning into your self-worth and your value and you're not giving up that power of your value and of yourself and of, what really makes life sweet to you, you're going to have a better foundation to stand on no matter what. Even if it feels like foundations are eroding because of change or because they're lacking the excitement quality or because, there could be a few different ways that could play out. But then Moon is also being heavily aspected where it's like having to cut old stories away, cut old chapters out of the book, realize that where you're at now is really where you're meant to be, and pursuing, in the moment what you can do without expecting some crazy thing to come out and like make it happen. And then right when Saturn goes direct, we're going to see that moon in Leo oppose it. And that moon in Leo has to go through a lot too. It squares over to Venus, squares over to Uranus, the North Node, opposes Saturn, squares the nodes. Quincunx is Neptune, but it will also make good aspects with trines over to Mars and Jupiter. So this is a very two sides to the story week. There's a lot of big things that are ready to take place so that you can either work out and rehash your foundation and rehash your own, foundation of self-worth and how you can really build off what you already have there. But then there's also the conflicting side of playing a victim or, feeling like somebody's taking something from you or the world's taking something or the gun's taking something. Did I say the gun? The government. It's kind of funny, just saying that, look what Canada just did, right? So they literally, Trudeau took away legal, it's completely illegal to have a firearm in Canada now. So, it seems like the writing's been on the wall that they want to, figure out a way to get rid of that Second Amendment. Maybe that's something big that comes up this week. There's a lot of this, taking rights away, which would actually be a beneficial time, as we saw with Algol, to petition. And I know that that's a very disputed subject in itself, but this isn't a time to give away value or give away rights. This is maybe a time to figure out better ways to do things. I'm not saying that we live in a perfect world right now, because I don't believe that's true. But, when you look at Australia and the UK and Canada, they don't have a lot of say, and they're still living a very strange world. And even China, you look at what they've gone through over the last couple years. These countries where the government has total control, they don't have any freedom, and it's one thing after another. They take and take and take. So I'm just saying, and I think most people, at least that watch my channel, would agree with that, but be careful what you give away. It's really easy to have your freedoms taken away. It's really hard to get them back. So be careful what you wish for. There's always going to be a black market out there. Drugs are illegal. You can make guns illegal. You can make anything you want in this world illegal. They're not just going to disappear off this planet. So consider that while it's a nice idea to have something just gone, it doesn't work that way. And bad people will always acquire these things. There's going to be a black market for everything. So Do you want all the bad guys to have the things, or do you, or is maybe a better solution having more responsible, good citizens, good people that are willing to protect people step up and have that, or is just take that away from the good people and put all. And I know these are controversial things, but there are things that we should talk about at least and just consider. I'm not telling you what's right or wrong, but that's part of my opinion at least, is we need to put more power in the good people's hands, which I think there's so many good. It's crazy. There is such an abundance of good people on this planet that have no intentions of harming anybody or doing any misservice or, anything like that. And those are the powerful individuals that should have a way to be of protection and of service to people. If we do live in such kind of apocalyptic times and crazy times where it's possible we see more and more war aspects in the world, and especially with Mars, Jupiter, and Aries right now, you never know. And Uranus coming back to the 15th degree of Taurus, Jupiter going to cross back over the 0 point of Aries. So we're not done with like some very strong Martian energy. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, I wasn't even planning on going there, but one misuse of a word, and here we are. Let's look at the astrology to finish off the week, and then I'm going to get out of here. I got some construction work to do today. Hopefully this is still live streaming. Oh, word. People are in here. Happy to see you all. All right. So Wednesday, June 1st, which is a great day to say rabbit, rabbit, right when you wake up for good luck. Why not? We could always use some good luck in this world. Sun will be at 11 degrees, hypercritical, especially in environment, in your personal life. Moon's in Cancer, and it's squaring over to Jupiter and Mars and Chiron as well. So, there's a lot of deep sensitivities. I also want to note that like Black Moon Lilith is squaring Jupiter and Mars and Chiron this whole week from Cancer too. So we are definitely seeing like this darkness in our personal lives and having to like transmute it and cut things away, especially with Mercury crossing over Algol and just sitting there on that demon star. We really got to look at our environments and make sure that like we're purifying in the healthiest way possible with compassion, because Neptune's there at 25 sextile Mercury, and then also semi-sextile over to Saturn. So like the blind spot here is compassion for all things that could happen or for any darkness that shows up. Having compassion in your spiritual truth and bringing that into your environment and living that day by day and building your support around that is what will repel the evil, because that's what we talked about with Algol too. Like it can repel evil spells. So, we're at a point where we really have to be in a strong place spiritually. And I've been saying that about like, of course, Jupiter and Mars and Aries, like spiritual warriors, even with Mars, Neptune, very important right now. It's definitely, Chiron and Aries can have people wanting to be weak. And it's been there for a long time. And you can look in the world and see like how weak masculine energy has gotten. It's hard, but it's also the key, and we've seen a lot of masculine energy step up big time and really like divine masculine, good masculine energy step up, and that's more of what we need in our personal lives, and that's more of what needs to show up, and we kind of have to cut out the things that are bringing sort of this dark edge or this, selfish, manipulating edge to it, and really enter with compassion and have that quality where we can move forward with strong feelings, but still look at the fact of the matter and, act accordingly and not have too many blocks up around our throat and say what we need to say in our lives. But big backup with Venus and the moon in sextile, and of course this really strong Venus, plus 10, doing the most. Good to see. It's nice to see a benefic planet outdo Saturn. Saturn just rules our lives. Literally, it really, Saturn is the ruler of our physical world. But especially lately, where it's been transiting, it's just like we can't get a break. Like, it's harsh. Saturn is harsh. But we've learned so much. We learned. So I think, it's important this week to realize how much you have learned and how much you have, found yourself, and to feel confident and expressive in that, and, build your foundation and cut out the stuff that is just clouding your personal life with injustice because of some victim sort of mentality or some sort of narcissistic thing. Like, really living the best life to you, but from a very pure place. And, aside from those squares, like, the moon's kind of just chilling out, not aspecting a whole lot of other planets, but we do want to, we want to look at our personal lives big time on Wednesday, and figure out the right things that emotionally make us feel good, that make us feel top notch, high quality, and the relationships, and, figure out where, if we don't have that too, we need to have those talks or step up and be really honest and expressive, so that we can make changes if necessary, or how we build off the foundation we've already, we're able to create and build off of. June 2nd, which is Thursday, we're going to have the sun at 12 degrees, which is a Jupiter day, and it's a Jupiter 3, so it's very expansive, and a lot about the story. And I think that we're seeing more of the story expand coming into this Thursday and coming into this weekend, about how we're really going to step up in life right now, how we're really going to define, how we're really going to open things up in a way that feels most unique to ourselves. Do the stuff that empowers you. It's very important to empower yourself. There is that Black Moon Lilith present, though, that is just like, ooh, right at the midpoint of, Mars, Chiron. It's just very it's not going to be easy. It's never easy, but it's so rewarding. So I feel like this is one of those weeks where, nothing comes easy. Value doesn't come easy. You always have to step up and kind of get out of your comfort zone to get the best things, or to start the things. And it's almost like if you're scared to start something, this is where you really want to try it. Saturn's not retrograde yet. It's still direct. And it's square Mercury. So it's like, what are we stopping from experimenting from in our environment because we're too busy overthinking and overanalyzing and looking into the future when Mercury's still retrograde? Okay, stop looking into the future. Just look at the now. Look at what's really important in the moment and what's really of value. And we're seeing the moon square Chiron just bringing up all sorts of sensitivities. So it's like there's sensitivities around taking the initiative action towards better, more value, your power, your authority, and really figuring out how to get into that authority, while the moon will finish off Thursday with the trine over to Jupiter and the sextile over to Mercury, and of course the quincunx to Saturn. So it's going through a lot here at home. It's not going to get to Pluto until Friday, which Mercury will be direct. You can see here too, they put the station in on Astro Gold, so Mercury is stop without taking too many steps back, but learning how to take steps forward and be courageous in sensitive times, and where it can feel weird and oh gosh, I really have to step up. Yeah, step up. This is the time of exciting change and exciting stories and expanding your tribe and expanding your community and expanding the things that can really light your heart up. Because it is the emotion right now, it is the heart, and it is the mind that are on the other side of these nodes. Everything else is still over here. So, think about your identity, the sun. Think about your personal life, the moon. And think about thinking with Mercury, and how it's really time to look on the other side of things, and to realize there's a whole nother side that you probably haven't been paying attention to. And I've been talking about that blind spot. That's been coming up a lot. So check your blind spots. There's answers there that can be expressed and communicated and changed and worked through, that are of a better quality, that are actually trying to amplify the right things so that you can consolidate the right things and, do away with the things that are not. of quality. And then, I mean, Friday's kind of a big day because Mercury will station direct at 1 o'clock a.m. So it'll be 4 o'clock a.m. on the East Coast, but it is that Mercury station. And it's like, okay, now our mind's ready to move forward into the weekend and go, let's go. Let's start going forward again. Let's bring on the new. And Saturn's a day away from its station to go retrograde. And literally, like, it's so funny you think that, Mercury. It's so funny your little human mind thinks that now it's time to go, because the whole time you've been going backwards and rethinking things. You could have been stepping forward into some really big, powerful stories. But were you overthinking? And that was like the blocks. Like, are we overthinking, trying to get things in perfected form when that doesn't even exist? And now the moon's opposite Pluto in Capricorn, really having us look deep at our personal lives and having us look deep on the things we want to go after and achieve. So now our mind is feeling like it wants to go forward, but also feeling like, well, can I go? Is it okay? Asking for permission to go forward, but to Daddy Saturn. And, the Lord of the Underworld, Pluto's looking at our personal life like, well, you can go forward, but are you sure you want to go into those flames? And now we're having to feel like, do I really want to jump into the fire? Why didn't I just get in before the flames were like up to my neck? And that's just a metaphor, but it is interesting that the moon will be with Vulcanus. So, volcano, lots of things erupting and dealing with the opposition of Pluto. But it will be in good aspects to Mercury, and I think we're at a place where we're ready to transform our personal lives, but we have to take risk to do it, and we have to stop asking for permission. Find the courage in life to change your life. And that's where the sun at 13 degrees is saying, break out. Break out for the change in your environment, the excitement, have the conversation, speak your truth, be unapologetically authentic, but with compassion. Because Neptune's still at 25 in that sextile to Mercury, which it will be all week, which is great for creativity. I'll be honest, that sextile from Neptune to Mercury is like, let your imagination guide you right now. Let your intuition guide you, and stop looking at all these like practical solutions, because the practical solutions are the ones that don't even, this totally makes sense. Does it? Or are you having to go deeper within your emotion to find the deeper truth? And we're seeing the sun really start to press on the sextile over to Chiron, which is trying to really heal us through change. It's trying to heal us through self-identity, through our masculine energy, which whether you're female, male, woman, man, whatever, doesn't matter. We all have masculine energy because we have to define life. We have to identify with life and our life. And that's where we can speak up. That's where we can have good debate, have good talk, have our truth be heard, know our truth, know ourselves. So we're at a place where we can also there's a lot of healing by learning more about yourself, and by taking more on, and by not like blocking the truth of what you do need to see to move forward, and take on the stuff that Saturn's already said, hey, pay attention to this and work on this, because it's the final day before Saturn goes retrograde, which will be on Saturn's day, June 4th, and it will be at 2:47 p.m. on the West Coast, 5:47 p.m. on the East Coast, but that Saturn is station retrograde 000. So summer school is officially in session coming into this weekend, and that can be a great time for some because you're ready to take on what you've already been working on and the lessons you've already learned, and ready to, go back over those things in a constructive manner, but also realizing that it's not as intense about what the big achievements are. Like, yes, we always want to achieve, but take the achievement out of it in life and just focus on the things that make you happy now. Focus on the things that you really want to connect to. The rest will work itself out. But you have to pay attention to also people. What are people doing? And why are they making me feel a certain way? And are they persuading me to go a different direction? These are going to be Saturn retrograde and Aquarius tests. So we now have Mercury direct. We now have Saturn retrograde. And this is where, again, we want to go forward. But Saturn's like, don't be an idiot and stop yourself now. Like, go forward with all the stuff that you've learned. And repel the dark. You're protected. You got this. But you also have to have intense talks, have intense meetings with people in your life, and have your own truth understood on a much deeper level of integrity, and like put out your highest character. And the moon will be in Leo, and it's going to square Uranus and Venus. So it's just like, oh God, like I really have to step up and shine in my values, and it doesn't feel as comfortable as it should feel, but it also could force some really positive things, especially if you are like really going to step up to your highest version of yourself and really like unapologetically be true to yourself and your values. Then like who knows what could happen. You could have some of the coolest conversations, you could have some of the most fun of the weekend, but it's like you kind of have to step up and be kind of extroverted about how you really feel and not like hide things. And we also see the moon making really good aspects to the Aries energy, which is definitely a positive reinforcement of like amplifying your personal life to match your story, finding the emotional courage to charge forward and to be extreme when you have to be extreme, but to be able to also look at the other side of things and tone it back down when you need to tone it back down so that you can have constructive conversation without just being like way too dogmatic or this is the way, because what is the way? We really don't know. You have to just be honest about your personal life and realize what your truth and what your way is. And we're also going to see the moon make good aspects to the sun with a sextile. So a lot of positive influence, but also a lot of like, gotta kind of break out. Like, don't halt yourself just because Saturn went retrograde. Pursue the things that are already real. It's like, what's real? And Mercury can kind of want to go into fantasy land with the sextile to Neptune, especially now that it's direct, which isn't a bad thing, but it's like bringing the dreams to reality, like actually getting real with Taurus and like the substance of what that dream can be, and has it already shown up in your life, and does it fit your, full expression of yourself and of the personal life you want to live, and does it fully represent your truth? And then Sunday we finish off with the sun at 16 degrees. Definitely brings up relationship energy, brings up balancing, and there's also liberation, I feel like, there, and like it's going to be liberating when you get things leveled off in your environment that makes sense to you and that really are where you want to be at. And it's almost like there can be a relief now that Mercury's direct, even though it's still square Saturn, which is stopped. But I just think that by Sunday you can start to have you can really start to see the beautiful aspects that if you made changes in your life this week, there was something on the other side. There was a reason you made it. And, it was like having to work through lots of sensitivities. Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, dealing with emotional, just like I am the only person in life that can take care of any of my emotional needs. But like, is that true? Maybe somebody else coming in giving you a hug would actually make you feel good. It's square Chiron. So we have to feel like we're all deserving of love. We're all deserving of power and direction and definition, and being able to put that out there and cut things away that are taking that away, so that you can like really step up more in your power, but with compassion and with a nurturing ability that can be used for others in your life as well. I feel like that stuff really vibrates out. Like when you're in a very healthy, strong place, it's not about dominance. It's not about power. It's just about I'm going to define my life, and that's how I'm going to manifest. And that changes the game for people in the collective. Like, we're all at this point now because people have come before us and done that. And it's in the collective consciousness that we can all be here. So every time we all step up into our power more, the more people in the collective step up into their power. And that's where things can be the other side. It can feel like, oh, there's no power. Oh, by the end of the week, it's like the other side was like, you didn't realize all this power was sitting right here ready for you to just use it and make it happen and express it and talk about it and share it and own it. And even Black Moon Lilith is going to be, making good aspects to Venus and Uranus. Like, there's such a breakout element here right now. The rebels that are going against the grain are going to feel better. People that are just being told what to do and like not being in their defining energy are going to feel very used and abused and wrongfully accused, like Medusa. And the moon will oppose Saturn right after it goes retrograde, and it will be T-square with the nodes. So it definitely, Sunday's an important day. Just like you're either feeling almost like a sense of extreme freedom because you've made choices leading up to this weekend that were in alignment with yourself. We're in alignment with your self-authority and your self-expression and the life that you want to create and what's going to make your life more fun and more happy and more abundant and the right people, the right connections. Or it's almost like, gosh, I am still sitting here in despair and I can't figure out why I can't make my life happy and why my life isn't showing up with value. And it's like you missed out on how to take chances for better, and you were scared for better. So hopefully people, hopefully we can all have compassion for people that are down and out, because I think this week, it does get hard for people that are not stepping up and making changes that they really want, and they can go really deep into some dark places mentally and go backwards and try and numb out. And that's also Mercury and Algol, sextile Neptune. And it sucks because this is not a time to be numb. This is a time to really be on it and present and have good intent to live your best life. When it looks like everything in the world is saying you can't live your best life. Is that actually true? Do you give that power? So I think it's a big day. And of course the moon will square Mercury as well. So just big T-square, big fixed cross energy here. I think by the end of this weekend coming up, it's really a big look at like your life force energy, which is the fixed energy. Like your self-worth. Do you love yourself? Leo, do you really love yourself? Do you put yourself number one? Do you really like show that you're valuable? Do you express that you're valuable? And Scorpio too, are you going to go after the stuff that you're passionate about in life? Are you going to put your energy into things that are going to make you more powerful? Bring out the depth of your soul that can, light up your existence? And then Aquarius, like the people in your life are so important too. Do they fit with your environment? Are they exciting? Are they balanced? Are they in harmony? Important stuff to think about, just moving forward, but of course this week as well. All right, I'm gonna call it. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for everybody in the chat. What's up, Hammer 17? What's up, James? Puzzles me fate. Hello. Tarot Destroyer. Rah. Taking you out. Angelic Revelation. Thank you for being here. Mystery Singer. Hello. Julian. Thanks for the compliment. What up, Steph? Catching up on your guys' stuff. I appreciate you guys. Shar, don't shit on me. That's a good one. Sky Orchids. I trust our citizens much more than our government agendas. Me too. Sky Orchids is Jenny, by the way. Oh, blasted. Carebeam, what up? Marker. Oh, it's funny, Mystery Scene said used and abused and wrongfully accused. Again, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp has Mercury and Algol conjunct. Kind of interesting, right? All that like other side perspective stuff. What up, off-grid 90 kid? Joanna, how are you? All right, love you all very much. I'm gonna do the tarot and then some other stuff. There's a lot of construction to be done. Gonna build some sets and pack up for the weekend and don't trip the following weekend. It's about to get wild. So had a really good weekend chilling, and now it's grind time. So all that stuff that you really do want to grind for, that's already shown up, this is the time to do it. All right, love you everybody. Have a great week. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.